Welcome to the discretionary data training video. In this video, we'll cover creating discretionary data elements and looking at how they apply to your virtual terminal and shopping cart. A few things to note before we get started. In this demonstration, I'll be logging into a professional account that has access to the shopping cart. I am also logged in as the account administrator, and I have access to all the menus. If you don't see some of the menus when you log in, be sure to check with your Paytrace account administrator to ensure that you have the permission to be able to manage discretionary data or manage any other shopping cart permissions. Discretionary data allows us to ask for additional pieces of information that Paytrace doesn't ask for already. So the first thing we're going to do is create a discretionary data element, and we can do so by accessing the control panel on the left-hand side. The first thing we want to do is title our discretionary data element. Let's say we want to title it account number. After we assign a title to the discretionary data element, we want to choose how we want to get a response back to this piece of information. We can choose to have the element be responded to in a text box, which would allow a customer or a user processing the transaction to key in a response to this discretionary data element. We can also choose to have a drop-down menu with items that the customer or user can select, and also we have a multiple select option in case they need to make multiple selections from within the drop-down menu. Then we can choose who this discretionary data applies to. Does it apply to our customers or does it apply to our products? When set to apply to customers, the element will appear when users attempt to process a transaction through the virtual terminal, as well as it will appear when customers try to make a purchase from the shopping cart. When set to apply to products, when we create products, we'll be able to enter in that discretionary data element once we create the product. We can also choose whether or not we want this information to be required, so a customer or user must enter this information when processing a transaction. And then we can also choose whether or not we want this information to be passed along on the transaction receipt. Now that we've filled in all of our information and selected all of our options, we'll go ahead and create the discretionary data element. After we create the element, we do need to set options to be able to control how the element works. This is defining what type of response we want back in our text box, or what options we want to put in a drop-down menu for a user or customer to select. This can be done by going to the Modify a Discretionary Data page from the control panel, or you can click on the link after you created the discretionary data element. From here, we can define the parameters for the discretionary data element. This item is a text box, and we're able to set a minimum and maximum amount of characters to be accepted in the text box. We can also choose what type of response we're willing to accept, such as an alphanumeric response or a date response, etc. Once our parameters are set, we'll go ahead and click to modify the element and save that information, and the element is now ready to go. This other element that was created previously was set up as a drop-down menu, and we can see how we can apply options to that drop-down menu to allow our users and customers to select options. You can set up 4 options for the drop-down menu at first, however you can go back and add more if needed. Once we have typed in our options for our element, we can then go ahead and click to modify, which will save that information and makes our element ready for use. So now let's take a look at it. Let's take a look and see how these elements apply to our virtual terminal as well as our shopping cart. Let's first take a look at the virtual terminal. And this is very simple. We just want to go to the Process a Transaction page from within our virtual terminal menu. Once this page loads, we'll be able to see that all the regular transaction information is there. However, as we scroll down, we can see an additional field for the discretionary data element that we had entered. Users and customers can go ahead and key in that information when processing their transactions at this point, and that information will be passed back along in your transaction reporting. Now let's take a look and see how this is going to apply to our shopping cart. To show an example of how this is going to work, I've already created a product on my shopping cart, and I just want to act like I'm a customer making a purchase of that product so I can see the discretionary data element being asked for on the checkout page. So I'm going to visit the shopping cart menu and click on the Create a Product link option. From here, I'm just going to select the product I have created and then create the code for a specific buy button so I can go ahead and view this product or attempt to make a purchase of it. Once the code has been created for me, I just want to click on the Buy or Add to Cart image right below the code, and it'll take me to my cart with the product in the cart ready for checkout. As I work through the checkout page, I can see my discretionary data item has been listed there, and I can go ahead and fill out that information with my order. Once the order processes, this information will be accessible from my transaction reporting. It'll also be included on the transaction receipt if specified to. This concludes the discretionary data training video. If you have any questions, please feel free to click on your support tab up in the top right-hand corner to get Paytrace's contact information to get assistance.